Hello and a very good evening and welcome to the 2022 Hampton Football Netball League online show. It's great to have local football and netball back, and it all kicks off this weekend and we are certainly looking forward to it. And well, it feels like it's been a long time since we've seen the last game in 2021, cut short after 13 rounds, but it's certainly nice to have it back. Joining me tonight on the online program is the great Greg Eyes-Carlson. Eyes, a very good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Trenny. How are you, mate?
Going super, mate, and it's a nice little feel, isn't it, to have that local football and netball back?
Absolutely. It's been a long time, hasn't it? And, you know, it's part of our fabric, and there's so many people that have missed it enormously. It's going to be great. And
there's been a real air of excitement as well, obviously going to the season launch a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, there was a lot of, excited people in the building ready for a big 2022 ahead.
Absolutely, and I mean, to towns like ours, Warrnambool, but then we branch out to the smaller towns in the area. It's just so important, as I said, socially. You know, as I said, it's part of our DNA, isn't it?
It certainly is. Now, before we get into the show, and we've got a lot of things to get through, some great guests coming up, I want to mention our all-important sponsors. We know without the support of these local businesses, you know, our football league just doesn't function as well as what it does. So a big thanks to McDonald's, Powercall, Lindock Living and SunGold, four of our major sponsors. And you know, the amount of effort and work that they put into our league is phenomenal.
Yeah, I know. And Hilly, I know as tough as it's been in recent times too with a lot of these businesses, we never really lost them though, did we? They were always going to be supporters, and they've jumped back on board again, and we can't do it without them. So we've got to say thanks to them for sure.
Absolutely. Southwest TAFE, the Warrnambool Racing Club, Lucas Brothers Butchers, Fresher Fruit Juice, R&M Security, Southwest Tools, that Tool of the Week's back for 2022, Paddy Lane and the team. And I know it was a huge highlight last year, so it's going to be an interesting one this year as well with our Southwest Tool of the Week.
Yeah, they could name us tools at times, but as I said, it's always a bit of fun, isn't it? It's great.
Absolutely. The Warrnambool Football Club, the Carter Group, great to have Timmy Carter in the group joining the competition in 2022, and QX3 as well, another great sponsor jumping on board for season 2022. Now, before we get into our guest eyes, I guess we're starting on probably sombre notes with the passing of Clinton Bolsh earlier this week, a terrific fellow, a great community person, a great football person, played with Camperdown, had the affiliation with Cobden, and more recently had some time out at Karut, as well as Old Collegians. A tragic loss, and our thoughts and condolences certainly go to the Bolsh family, Jackie, Indy, and also young Tommy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hilly, and you know, not a great way to kick off the season really when we heard that news, because I think everybody right across the competition knows Bolsh. He's always up for a yap about footy. Absolutely loved his footy, and he's going to be sorely missed. I mean, I had the pleasure of working with him on a regular basis, you know, in my working environment, and we got on terrifically well. He always knew where you stood with Bolshy, and he was just a man of ideas, you know, not just in working life, but as we saw in football with, you know, this competition, we've just seen him basically took it up single-handedly, didn't he? That little pre-season comp, for want of a better description, but he's going to be missed, and it probably hasn't really sunk in with a lot of us at this point in time, because he's just one of those blokes. You look at the picture on the paper and you just think, well, you're going to see him again, but unfortunately we're not, Hilly. You know, it's very, very sad, and as you said, our thoughts go out to the family and his big network of friends and contacts across the area.
And I guess, you know, from a Hampton League Live perspective, which we're obviously involved in, you know, his support from the get-go from 2013 onwards has been absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, we loved having him on and having, a bit of a chin wag and a bit of fun and hanging a bit of the proverbial on him. But, and then on the flip side too, you go around to all the footy clubs, and there's a lot of them around the region. You'd see that Clinton Bolsh name on, you know, sponsor boards and everything, because he was so generous.
And he was just innovative, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, first, he was the first cab off the rank, and not in a small way. Like, he's a car, boys, you know. You can run to the footy every week and have it for the season. Like, just stuff that he was a real thinker about, you know, promoting his own business, but also on helping one another out, you know.
No, he's going to be sorely missed, and as we said, our condolences to Jackie, Indy and Tom and all the Bolsh family, and from the Bolsh Motor Group as well. We certainly feel for you, and he's going to be sorely missed, there's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, but not forgotten, Billy.
Absolutely. Let's remember those good times. All right, we're going to start off the program with our first special guest. It's our new Hampton League president, a great football background, this fellow. He's been a coach of Port Fairy, he's been a coach at Terang Mortlake. He's had affiliation with the Kangaroos Saints as well back in the early days. And I speak of Shane Trelfel. Trelf, thanks for joining us on the online show tonight, mate. Great to have your company.
Thanks for having me, guys. And I'd just like to echo the thoughts and condolences to the Bolsh family. I've had quite a few discussions with Bolshy over the last 4 to 6 weeks, and his ideas and innovation and thoughts on what we might be able to do in the future were fantastic, and I really enjoyed those conversations. So, as I said, just echo your thoughts and send our best wishes to the Bolsh family.
Well said, mate. Shane, congratulations on the appointment. It's great to have a great football person leading the charge of the Hampton Football Netball League, such a prestigious league. You must be looking forward to the role ahead.
Absolutely, certainly looking forward to it. Like any job, it'll have its moments and challenges, but that's I've got a great board behind me and great people on that board, so we'll smack into the challenges that arise, and I'm really looking forward to keeping the Hampton League going and being one of the strong leagues in country Victoria.
I know we've only got a certain amount of time that we can talk about it, Shane, and we've had radio interviews in recent times, but what are some of the bigger challenges you think that you'll be faced with as president of our league?
I reckon you can probably lock it into short term and long term.
Yeah.
I reckon short term, the 7-day isolation could interfere with some rounds. Fortunately, I don't think we're going to lose a whole round, but we could have some games that are in jeopardy. So what we've basically decided is that we keep filling up. So if a club's got to miss a game, it'd be a reserve or under 18 game, and that would be up to the club. We want to try and keep the seniors going as much as we can. But at some point, and this may be a challenge at some time, there becomes a bit of a tipping point, I suppose, for a club. And I guess we saw that a little bit last week with the West Coast Eagles, which fortunately they played well, but they were getting to the point where it was pretty tough to field a side. So that would be some of the challenge to us throughout the year. But I don't think we'll lose a whole round, but we might have some games that are jeopardised. So that would be some short-term concerns that we have. But once again, we have to deal with them as they come up. It's the world we live in. We can't sort of do much about it. Long-term, I think we get through this year. I think long-term, there's the perennial issues of lack of volunteers and maybe player numbers, and clubs are experiencing that this year. But having said that, clubs are fantastic the way they rally and forge on and attempt to get their club to the point where they've got a good volunteer base and plenty of players. But as time goes on, I think we've probably we need to come up with some innovative ideas now we can help clubs in those areas.
And junior numbers, Trelf, what's the feel from clubs in regards to junior numbers? I know obviously with the 2 years we've had and the lack of football in 2020, we got a taste of it for a fair chunk of last year. How are clubs going with, I guess, junior numbers? And is that a concern, or is that an area that there's a bit of buoyancy about?
Look, I think it varies from club to club. Some of the clubs within Warrnambool are probably at an advantage with the population base, but some of the clubs on the, in the smaller communities are certainly worried about the numbers. And it's not just the lack of kids wanting to play footy. It's probably there's a bit of competition from other sports, basketball and soccer, and those type of sports probably taking a few of our kids to those sports. So as I say to people, we've just got to provide an environment at our clubs that people want to be at. And once that happens, and once the COVID stuff settles down, hopefully people are drawn back to the clubs, because, what better place to enjoy people's company than a football netball club. So I think clubs are fantastic at creating that environment. And if they do that, then hopefully the numbers will regenerate and come back.
And a big one, Trelf, it seems to have been forever in the making, but the redevelopment of the Reed Oval. It's been a talking point, obviously, for a long time, and obviously it's still a talking point because we're ready to kick off there on Saturday. But you've had a wander through. You're happy that they're certainly ready to roll?
Look, it's fantastic. And look, there's a few teething problems and it's not quite going to be finished for the start of the season. But with something so good, we've just got to be patient. And there's going to be a few issues as we go through, but it's a fantastic facility. And I'm sure there's lots of coaches and players that are the envy of Parky and the Warrnambool crew at the moment, because it's going to be a fantastic facility. And, down the track, hopefully we've got some innovative ideas where we can maybe maximise its use a little bit.
Absolutely. And Trell, one thing we spoke about was just a number of the sponsors have just stuck fat over the last couple of years, and it hasn't been an issue to re-sign and be a part of the league again this year. Like, you guys just must be overwhelmed by the support of local businesses, some of the larger organisations that have joined in supporting the Hampton Football Netball League.
Yeah, so look, we all know that without them, the financial viability certainly becomes an issue. And I must take the hat off to Matty Stewart and Peter Heaton for the work they've done in maintaining our sponsors. And a big thanks to all the sponsors that have stuck tight through that period, because it would have been easy just to not do it, wouldn't it? But they haven't done that. They've stuck tight, and it's put us in a short-term and long-term financial situation that's quite viable.
Beautiful. And financially, I mean, just to touch on that again, the league, you seem to be stepping into a chair that, they seem to be travelling along okay.
Yeah, look, the financial stuff's been really well handled by those guys I spoke about before, and then our board members that look after the financial side of things. So, yeah, I'm happy not to come in and have to start rattling tins.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, Trell, we really appreciate your time, mate. We're looking forward to seeing what you and your board can do this year and really enhance the Hampton Football Netball League even further in 2022. Thanks for joining us, and no doubt we'll be touching base quite regularly this year.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Trell.
Shane Trell, the new league president of the Hampton Football Netball League, and great football person. I think we've got some really good, strong leadership there, Eyes.
Well, we have, and what I love about Trell, we know he's passionate about footy, probably passionate about sport, but what I love is that he's had really recent engagement with the football itself, you know what I'm saying? And I think that, and not to say our past presidents haven't, but I think that's a really, really good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke about the Reed Oval, the big redevelopment. We're going to be there on Saturday for our Hampton League Live match of the day between the Warrnambool Blues
afternoon tea and
the Portland Tigers. And, mate, it's going to be sensational. And I know one coach should be pretty excited to be getting his charges out on the field on Saturday is Warrnambool coach Ben Parkinson. And Parky's been kind enough to join us. Parky, thanks for jumping on tonight and having a chat with us.
No worries, boys. Glad to be here.
Mate, you must be excited about 2022 and getting off, I guess, the pond from last year. Obviously, that makeshift home for just that one season and getting onto that newly redeveloped Reed Oval.
Well, hopefully we had our last session at the pond last night, mate. So we've had to get back off the Reed. We had a 6-week stint there from the end of January, and then they had to do the winter grass feeding. So we've had the last 3 weeks away again, and back there tomorrow night before we kick off there Saturday, and then hopefully we don't have to jump off again.
And Parky, that's what I was about to ask you. Did you have, when you were training there or when you have been training there, did you sort of have full access to the ground as such? Like, were you able to use, full-size drills and stuff, or are you still a bit restricted in how much movement you could have?
Obviously, the centre square was still roped off eyes because cricket was playing. But we're used to that. We've always had that at the Reed. Nestle's been the co-tenants there, or the summer tenants. We've always had to contend with that. We had no goalposts. They've just gone in late last week, but we just manufactured with Auskick goals and stuff like that. But right around the rest of the ground, we were able to do full drills. Just that centre wicket was just roped off. I'm sure we're not the only club that trains on a turf wicket ground. So.
And Parky, I was going to ask, is there much difference running on the Reed Oval now compared to what it was, 18 months ago? Like, is there a bit of change? I reckon the wing seems a little bit bigger on that outer side, on the netball court side.
And even Parky underfoot, does it feel, spongy
it's definitely
or whatever?
Different. Yeah, it's a different surface for sure. It's a lot more. It's not so much coochie, not like that thick that sort of takes it out of your legs a bit. Like, the boys have loved running on it. We only wore our runners no boots for that period of time as well, so we had no issues with running on it. And as you touched on, Hilly, it's definitely bigger, certainly wider. It's a lot more round, like a real cricket designed oval. The wings are huge now, so. But we only had one session just before they reseeded it where we got full access just after the last cricket grain. We got to run through the centre and stuff like that. So, yeah, looking forward to having full access from now on.
And Parky, when you were mentioning the big wings, etc., my history has been South Warrnambool Footy Club, and I think of a recruit you've got by the name of Paddy Anderson. I don't know what plans you've got for him, But I'm thinking, geez, he's going to, if you do have this plan, he's going to love running up and down those wings, I reckon. And it sounds like he's had a pretty good pre-season too, and probably just a change of environment for him has probably given him a decent spark as well. But he's coming along well.
Yeah, he's fitted in really well, Paddy. He hasn't missed a session since we started back in the end of November, sort of thing. So, and you're right, he'll get that opportunity to cover the ground. He'll play on the wing at times. He'll play on the ball at times. We know he's a goal-kicking mid, so yeah, we'll use him in all those positions where he's able to impact the scoreboard as well as get across that ground.
Parky, is there going to be much difference in the way you go about it this year? Obviously, you know, a couple of good recruits, Paddy Anderson, I know Otto Ottoman's come back, as well as Damien McCorkle, so some really good running players and midfielders. Are you going to change the way you sort of go about it a little bit more? And I guess, you know, especially playing on the reed with that bigger surface and bigger playing area.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit different. No wholesale changes. The other thing is that everyone else is fit as well, Healy. So Rowie missed, I think he played 3 games last year before the shoulder injury. Sam Cowling missed a chunk with the hamstring. Tim O'Keefe played 2 games. So we get some key position guys back as well. Jordan Foote never started till round 7. So yeah, all those guys are up and running and like 100% fit and available. So that makes us different as well. So it's not only the on-ballers that we've added to our list, it's those guys that virtually didn't play much last year either.
Yeah, and I think everyone's obviously going to be mad keen, Parky too. So you know, it's been a while for a lot of players not having played footy, but you find most people, and even not just players, but you know, even your support staff. There's an element of keenness, but they've picked things up pretty quickly again.
Yeah, I think so. I think I know Charles just touched on the COVID stuff before, but I think everyone doesn't have that front of mind at the moment. Like there is a possibility that it may happen, but I think everyone's confident that the season will go ahead in full. There'll be finals football. Maybe like I could have 5 players that come down with COVID tomorrow, and Holdy gets a bit of an advantage because I'm missing those 5, and he's got full strength team, and we play each other in round 10 or whatever. Holdy could have 6 with COVID, and I could have a full list, and that's just the way it's going to be, I think. So if you get a big bunch of your playing list with COVID at the same time, you're probably going to drop a game for that 7 days that they're all in isolation. And it depends on how crook they get as well. They might miss another one as well. So, but that happens. Yeah.
Just got to be adaptable, Parky. I think that's the key, isn't it? Just being adaptable and, yeah, addressing each situation as it comes. Hey, mate, before we let you go, obviously a tough game early with taking on the Portland Tigers. They were up and about last year. They would have been playing finals if we had a final series. Not an easy opposition for the first game.
No, we were probably disappointed with our season last year, and Holdy would have been very pleased with his. So we were up early against them last year, and then they just steamrolled us out of Deakin early on. So I'm sure they will carry that confidence into the season from last year, whereas we're resetting our goals, and we think we're really disappointing, and we'll climb that ladder. We can go up steeply, we think. So very, very evenly matched round 1 for us, and everyone's very pleased with their pre-seasons, obviously. But until you start playing against in your local competition, you never really know.
And I guess with Portland, there's always an element of surprise with them, isn't there? Like they always seem to be throwing someone on the park that we've probably never even heard of, you know. And I noticed they've recruited some new blood in from Westerns again this year, you know, quite a few players. So there's always that element. But I guess the other thing about Saturday is that it's a new ground for both parties. You know what I mean? You probably aren't quite familiar with the idiosyncrasies of how the new oval's going to work, and they're on an equal footing in that area too. So it's just going to be a really interesting contest in terms of what you might get thrown at you, Parky.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've had a look at the ground. There's definitely no home ground advantage for us, that's for sure. And then and obviously we don't know a lot of Portland's side. There's a good rumour getting around this week that Holdy might be able to allude you some truth to this week. So I certainly hope it's not true for round 1. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. We just concentrate on what we're bringing to the table on Saturday and see how that stacks up.
Hey, Parky, really appreciate your time tonight, mate, and best of luck. And we look forward to seeing the Warrnambool Blues in action in our Hampton League Live match of the day. Good luck, and we'll catch you on Saturday.
No worries. Look forward to it. Thanks,
Just
boys.
make sure the kiosk works all right, Parky, will you?
It'll be right, mate. You get some hot chips up there.
Good man.
Upstairs.
Thank you.
Benny Parkinson, the coach of the Warrnambool Blues, and does a great job. Great man, Parky.
Yeah,
Great
good
football
fella,
person.
absolutely. And it's going to be interesting, though, because I'm sure Parky would agree, just that Warrnambool ground, the size and the shape that you've alluded to, how you defend it and stuff, it's going to be trial and error for a little while, I reckon, because, and that's why I asked the question about whether Parky had been able to do many full ground drills, because that's where you could at least start to practice it. So I reckon that's going to be one of the fascinating things. And in contrast, Portland have that sort of narrow strip, don't they, that they normally play on. So it's just going to be, it's a fascinating game.
I think it's going to take the Blues a few games to get used to the Oval, that's for sure. Obviously not being there full time during the pre-season. Let's go to the other side of the, I guess, the contest, the Portland Tigers. The coach, Jared Holt, joined us. He's on the way home. Holty, thanks for joining us on the Hampton League Live online show, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me, boys.
Great to have you on board, mate. Second season back at the helm. How are things shaping up for the Portland Tigers for 2022?
Yeah, not too bad. We've had a decent pre-season. I guess as a coach, it's never good enough. But we've numbers wise, picking up a few new players, just the vibe around the club, kind of piggybacking off a decent year last year. I think it's been pretty positive, and everyone's pretty optimistic about this year.
And certainly, Holdy, we were interrupted last year, so, we might have been, making it sound better than it was, your second season coach, because as I said, there were so many distractions and interruptions last year. But I think Parky might have hit the nail on the head. The overriding thoughts early last year was, I don't think we'll get much of a year done. And I reckon that's turned full cycle, even in everyday life, where I reckon most people are pretty confident that, we're right to go, and we'll get a hell of a lot of footy played this year. So those things probably help when you're coaching a side, Holdy, in terms of, you know what I mean? You've got all of your blokes fully engaged.
Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely that feeling. To be honest, I haven't really thought that. I guess I fully expected that we're going to play all year with it. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, and I presume a lot of people think the same way. But if I could compare the two pre-seasons we've had, like the previous year, it wasn't great at all. A couple of months out, I was a bit worried about what we're going to serve up. But to the boys' credit, they pulled through, and when it was go time, they carried themselves really well. And then this year, guys have been more consistent at training. The numbers have been higher, and I guess expectations are also a bit higher, but that's a good thing.
Hey, Holdy, I want to ask you about your playing list. Obviously, a great season last year. You had a really good young group coming through, plus some experience in there as well. A couple of off-season recruits. And I reckon, Portland's probably been a bit of a destination club over the last sort of 6 months for a few of the ones maybe playing Southwest District League and a few that have been Portland Tigers before coming back. But one player that really interests me that I reckon is going to be a terrific acquisition in your club's Lockie Huppets, who played some great GFL footy with Geelong West. Looking forward to seeing him run around back in the Tigers colours this year.
Yeah, Lockie, he'll be a big asset for us. He's got a real good running ability. He's a good ball winner. He'll be an elite midfielder in the comp, no doubt, as he was in the Geelong Footy League. So, and getting the locals back is always something that we always push for. And it's probably been a bit of a struggle in the past, but maybe on the back of last year as well, just guys like him and some other locals that we've been able to get back. It's really positive. And with recruit wise, I think if you can get locals back, especially for us, we're so far away from the cities. It makes it really tough sometimes, but when we can, I think it kind of has a bit more value than someone who we might have just enticed to get to the club with no real connection.
And Holdy, on the back of that, and as we've said, there's a number of those from the Southwest that you've been able to entice back or whatever. Was there a special target for you in terms of what you were really looking for to bolster your ranks?
Oh, not particularly. But what we have been able to kind of get is a couple of mature players who are really good players, and then obviously who were really young last year. And the kind of style of footy we played suited the young, quick guys, but it was, to be honest, it was pretty hectic, and it was a little bit unpredictable at times for the opposition, but for me as well. So a couple of mature players can hopefully settle us down a little bit at times. We still want to move the footy quickly and use our run, because that's what we've got. So, but yeah, I think a couple of mature players that we've picked up are going to really help just develop those young guys as well, and just play a smarter brand of footy.
Now, Holdy, I want to ask you, Parky just dropped before that he's been hearing a few little whispers about a good recruit that could potentially be playing for the Portland Tigers. Can you give us any information?
I'm not sure he's going
true or not.
Look, I heard you ask Parky what their game style was going to be this year, and to give you nothing, I have my notepad ready. To jot down some notes, and he gave me nothing. So
I think you're already playing games, you two.
We're not. I'm not. Maybe he is. Look, I know what you're talking about. I'd love to string you along, but there's no truth to that rumour. I work over in Warrnambool, and I've had a heap of people ask me that today as well. So
who is it, Hilly? Who is it?
Well, the whisper I've heard, and Holdy might correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard Bashar Hooley from the Tigers has been a name that's been linked with the Portland Tigers.
There's only a small.
Is that
name?
the correct one, Holdy, that you've been hearing about?
Or is there another one, Holdy?
No, that's the one I've heard about. Look, he does spend a bit of time in Portland. He loves his fishing, and look, there's been a little bit of talk there, but he won't be lining up on Saturday anyway. Sorry to disappoint anyone. Probably not disappointing.
Waiting for the home game.
Yeah, maybe the home game for saving for.
Hey, Holdy, I want to ask you, obviously exciting times for the Tigers in the fact that you guys are, one of the first sides to jump on the newly redeveloped Reed Oval. And I reckon it could be an oval that might suit you guys with the way you play that manic, fast-paced football with some really young legs.
Yeah, look, I know obviously Warrnambool are really excited to play their first game back there for them, but I know our boys are really excited to play there as well. And a few people that have had a look at the ground, and I've had a look at it myself, and it looks amazing. It's a proper footy ground, so we're really excited to get over there on Saturday as well. And we're probably going to. The style of footy we play might have to adjust a little bit. I don't normally try to read into it too much with the different size grounds and that, but when it's fairly exceptional and it is big, and always was big, but now it's even wider, we're probably going to have to adjust the way we play a little bit. But as you said, I think it could really suit us.
And overall, how many newbies can we expect to see, Holdy?
There'll be
like
3 or 4
this week, I mean,
Saturday.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, there'll be 3 or 4. Yep. So look, we've got. You want me to run through them?
Oh, it'll be good for the commentators.
Well, absolutely. If you want to go through them, mate, it'll be great.
Yeah,
Give us a heads up.
Parky's not still listening.
Be Hooley.
I'll probably, I don't know if I could keep a lid on it if that was the truth, but we've got Marcus England back at the club, who's previously played a lot of footy in Portland and been an exceptional player. So he had a bit of experience in the midfield.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marty Curtis, who's also from Westerns, who's a pretty crafty sort of half forward. We've got, we talked about Lockie Hupperts. He'll play in the midfield. We've also got Nath Haylock back at the club, who hasn't played. He's been away from Portland for maybe 4 or 5.
We might have just lost
Carl's
Holdy. He's on the way home to Portland. There he is. We've got him back.
There's a couple of good young players as well.
Yeah, no, we got you now. Thought the roller door went up, mate.
Did I miss you? Sorry.
No, that's all.
No, we got that.
No, terrific, Holdy. Great to see a couple of names. Can I just ask you about one more, Holdy? Is Reece Egan, he missed a bit of footy last year. Is he back again this year at the Tigers?
He's around. He won't play early, possibly later in the year. He's carrying a couple of injuries. And, he just kind of planned on maybe having a crack for the second half of the year. He's sort of tried to do a couple of pre-seasons the last couple of years, and his body's unfortunately let him down. He's he's probably unlikely we see much, but he's taking a little bit of time off at the moment. He's carrying a couple of niggles, and we might see him later in the year, but that'd be at best.
Hey, Holdy, it's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you again, mate, and talk some Hampton League footy. Best of luck on Saturday. We look forward to seeing the Tigers in action in our Hampton League Live match of the day. And thanks for joining us tonight.
No worries. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, mate.
Jared Holt, the coach of the Portland Tigers.
Good man.
Love the honesty.
Yeah, well, terrific. He said, "Oh, do you want me to tell you who they are?" So
Yeah, and
that
he
was
even
even
alluded
better
to
than
the Bashar Houli. I was waiting for B Houli to sneak in there.
Let's get Parky back on the line, see if he can tell us who's in for Warrnambool. But no, that's great.
It is great. Hey guys, I'm going to go through the 5 games this week. I wanted to give us maybe a thought on who you think might get the 4 points early. I know it's hard because, first round,
can't be any harder than
hard to get a
can
real
it?
gauge, but our Hampton League Live match of the day, Warrnambool take on the Portland Tigers at the Reed Oval. Who are you sort of leaning towards early in the week without seeing the sides, I guess?
Oh, exactly. I reckon it's 50-50, and my little prognostication for the latter was that these sides had finished 4th and 5th, thereabouts together, and I still think that might be the case. So don't think there's much in it. As we said to Parker, I don't think there's any home ground advantage either. And you alluded to the fact that Portland, it might suit them because they run like you wouldn't believe, don't they, those young blokes? It's probably, I'm not avoiding the question, but it probably gets down to maybe who's had the best pre-season and just who's in the better touch on the day. If I have to have a selection, I'm going to go for Warrnambool, but that's only with a gun to my head, mate.
Cobden take on the South Warrnambool Roosters. New coach Dan Casey, Matty Battistello's leading the Roosters charge once again. They've recruited really well, the Roosters, a couple of really nice players. Jack Dye's one of those I reckon is one to watch out for. He seems like he's got a few party tricks up forward.
Yep.
South probably favourites in this one?
Yeah, I would think so. Having said that, Cobden, we know, can throw surprises at you, and they do it often, but I would have thought South would be favourites and probably should be winning, Hilly.
Koroit, I guess our reigning premiers because we haven't had a premiership for a few seasons now, going for 7 in a row. They're an amazing football club. Take on the Hamilton Kangaroos, who in my mind, along with Portland, are going to be some of the big improvers this year.
Yeah, and you know what? It's always the case, but they're always the sleeping giant, aren't they, Hamilton? They can absolutely, like last year, they knocked off South, for example, I think
they did.
very early in the year. I'm missing, was either last year or the year before because they've all blended into one. So they can surprise you, but yeah, not sure about that. What about you? What do you think?
I think Koroit, still got runs on the board, still a really good nucleus of a list.
And it's hard to tip against them.
I think Hamilton is still going to be one of the big improvers this season.
But sometimes Koroit take a little bit to get going, don't they? It's not their absolute aim to be flying first game. No. But having said that, it's hard to tip against Koroit. I'm with you.
Yeah. Camperdown take on Terang Mortlake. Now, this is a twilight game, a later game. I think it might be a 5:30 start. Camperdown have been decimated with just players going up north and having 12 months away from the club. Terang Mortlake have lost a couple of really experienced players, but gee, they've got some good youngsters, and we saw the fruits of that in that last game last year against Port Fairy, where I think they had a 100-and-something point win.
I know.
They've got some really good juniors. Camperdown have got some good young ones coming through. I reckon this is going to be a pretty tight contest.
What I liked about Terang Mortlake last year is that they really seemed to get some momentum late in the year. So hopefully they can carry that through into this year. And the exciting thing about Camperdown, and I guess when you're in this position, Neville Swain said he's just going to play a lot of kids and you'll be surprised. Quite a few of them go all right. They've still got a nucleus of some good players there. But I reckon Terang Mortlake might just be the side that improves enough to be winning this first game of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game up at the Lura Oval. And the last game, Port Fairy host the North Warrnambool Eagles. Been so much written about the Eagles, recruited really well, I guess, with Nathan Vardy coming on, former West Coast Eagle and Geelong Cat player, 200 centimetres, big ruckman. Going to be a hard matchup for any side he plays against.
It's ideal with Big Juddles, the man who's league heading to Queensland, so, who's done Jordan Dillon, I'm talking about, done an enormous job for North Warrnambool, but it's the ideal replacement. You can't tip against North, and I think they'll be solid favourites because what you know with North is they've always had a good pre-season because that's what their coach does, doesn't he? Yep. He makes sure they've had a solid pre-season. So I think Port Fairy will go all right, but I think North will get the job done. Yeah,
I think so as well. It's going to be a great first round of footy. Great to have Hampton League football back up and running this weekend. As I said, our Hampton League Live match of the day is the Warrnambool Blues taking on the Portland Tigers. The broadcast starts from 12 p.m, but the live streaming on the 3YBFM Facebook page does occur from 2 p.m. So if you're wanting to watch the game and you can't get there, jump on the 3YBFM Facebook page and you can watch the game beautifully delivered by Fitz Media and the crew. They do a great job bring you all the live action with the commentary from 3YBFM, the Hampton League Live team. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think we better run through those all-important sponsors once again. They're going to be with us all year, and we're going to highlight them and really push their case. And make sure you support these local businesses as well. They've put so much money and effort into our competition. It's really crucial that, we provide that support back. So McDonald's, Powercore, Lindock, Livy and Sungold, 4 major sponsors. Are fantastic to have on board once again. Southwest TAFE, the Warrnambool Racing Club, Lucas Brothers Butchers, Fresher Fruit Juice, R&M Security, Southwest Tools, the Warrnambool Football Club, the Carter Group, great to have them on board, QX3, and many more have put their name and money towards the Hampton Football Netball League, but great to have them.
Absolutely, yep. It goes without saying, great to have them. And the King of Football will be back Saturday, Matty Stewart, and of course all the team. And of course, for us boys too, it's been a long time waiting to get normality, so to speak. So
right.
It'll be fantastic. But again, as I know you're about to sign off, but let's keep Clinton Bolsh and his family in our thoughts, I think, because, as I said, a big loss this week.
I think you'll find there'll be a lot of clubs wearing armbands in memory
Probably
of the great
including
Bolshy.
Commentators, I reckon.
Absolutely, for sure. Thanks for jumping on, mate. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you throughout the course of the year.
First emergency all year.
I love it. Hope you've enjoyed the program. It's great to be back, and we'll see you next Wednesday night on the Hampton League Live online show.